Let's bring in the director of Asian Studies Center at the Heritage Foundation, Jeff Smith. And Jeff, the entire focus thus far leading up to this moment is what are the deliverables going to be between the United States and Japan? But I want to pick up with the breaking news that Peter broke earlier in the show, this potential meeting between President Trump and Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I mean, this was nowhere on anybody's bingo card expected for this meeting. Every document, everything that we read said this meeting was not on the table. This was not going to happen. And now, President seems to have changed his mind. Why? And what can you expect that will come out of this meeting if it does happen?
Well, President Trump has never been afraid of unconventional diplomacy. He was really the first U.S. president willing to engage in direct negotiations with the North Korean leader in some time. And I do think he made an honest effort at achieving a breakthrough with North Korea in his first term. I think he'd like the opportunity to build upon that. You know, generally these leader-level meetings require a great deal of planning and logistics and prep work that go into them before two leaders can get together in the same room. President Trump is the type of person that says, if there's an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And he will jump out and take that meeting, even if it's on a day's notice or 48 hours notice. Most likely what we would see is a meeting that would lay the prep work for a bigger meeting, probably in the region, either later this year or next year, where we might see more concrete deliverables. I think just the symbolism of having the two meet again, though, would reopen the possibility of negotiations between the two countries.
Well, President Trump is just about to meet with the Emperor of Japan. What do we need to know about the Emperor ahead of their meeting?
Well, the emperor is, at this point in Japan, a largely symbolic role, but an important symbolic role. And really, to me, the more important meeting will be with the new Prime Minister of Japan, who, as you noted in your earlier segment, is in many ways a disciple of Shinzo Abe, who was really the most consequential Prime Minister of Japan in some time. You hear us talk about the free and open Indo-Pacific today. The Indo-Pacific was largely a construct of Japan's, of Shinzo Abe's. You know, the Japanese have in many ways been our best ally in the region for so many years, whether it's countering China, whether it's a strong military partner of the United States. I think having another strong conservative as Prime Minister of Japan is going to open up even more opportunities for the bilateral relationship and for the Quad, that grouping of the U.S., Japan, India, and Australia that's so important to the balance of power in the region.
Everything that we have seen so far and everything that we will see today and in the next few days is to ultimately counter China. That is why we are going there at the end of the day. So that leads me to the question on what happens when we also ultimately have to engage in these trade negotiations with China. It seems wild to me. How does Trump really thread that needle of engaging in these trade discussions, try to get something from a country that has unapologetically said it wants to displace you, if not ultimately destroy you?
It's a great question, and I'll tell you what, I'm getting increasingly concerned about the long-term trends with China. You know, the way that they used to bully their neighbors, they're starting to direct some of that fire at the U.S. now. And in particular, this announcement of this rare earth export control regime, I mean, it's a gun pointed at the head of the United States. We cannot allow China to have the leverage over the U.S. to be able to turn on and off the United States economy. I don't think President Trump is going to stand for that. And that is what's currently under negotiation, a pause, at a very minimum, a pause on that regime in return for a pause on 100% tariffs to the United States. But this regime has to go away forever. I don't want China to have a gun to our head in a year from now. I don't want them to have it ever. And so I think President Trump is going to stand firm on this demand. You might bully your neighbors, but you're not going to bully the United States.
And that brings, Jeff, up the conversation of Taiwan, which is something that President Trump and the Prime Minister of Japan could get into when they meet tomorrow. What do you think about that, and what needs to be done to make sure that Taiwan is secure within the region?
I think we need to stand firm on the Taiwan question. And, you know, there's this interesting paradox where the main reason the Chinese are not moving on Taiwan is because they're afraid that we might get involved and back the Taiwanese. And we need to keep Xi Jinping and the Chinese Communist Party concerned about that possibility, concerned that if they make any military misadventure in the Taiwan Strait, that could be the end of the Chinese Communist Party. So we need to bolster deterrence in the region. We need to give the Taiwanese the arms that they need to defend themselves and to scare off China. And we need to work closely with Japan. You know, one of the other things that Shinzo Abe did that was so novel in his term is he essentially said, if China moves on Taiwan, that's going to be a threat to Japanese security too, and we're not going to be able to stand still. So I think we would have to work with Japan, Australia, and our partners in Taiwan to form a united front and to demonstrate to China strong deterrence, and that if you make a move, it might be the end of the Xi Jinping regime.
Jeff Smith, important perspective this morning as we watch history unfold before us. Thank you, sir.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.